The Tuskegee Airmen's 1949 Top Gun victory, the champion's history tried to forget. 4 years after World War II ended, the pilots of the Tuskegee Airmen were called upon to prove themselves again. They had already flown combat missions over North Africa and Europe. They had escorted American bombers into hostile skies, attacked enemy positions, and confronted German fighter aircraft. At the same time, they had served a country that segregated them, doubted their intelligence, and questioned whether black men possessed the discipline or ability to become military aviators. Yet even after their wartime record, the burden of proof remained upon them. In May 1949, that burden followed 4 black pilots from Lockbourne Air Force Base, Ohio, into the Nevada desert. There, at Las Vegas Air Force Base, later renamed Nellis Air Force Base, they entered the United States Air Force's first major fighter gunnery meet. The competition brought together some of the finest fighter units in the nation. It was an early predecessor to the sophisticated aerial weapons competitions that would later become associated with the phrase, Top Gun. The Tuskegee Airmen did not arrive merely to participate. They arrived to win. A new Air Force with an old problem. The United States Air Force had become an independent military branch in September 1947. But independence from the Army did not immediately free it from the racial segregation that had shaped American military life. Black pilots, mechanics, armorers, radio operators, instructors, and support personnel remained concentrated within segregated organizations such as the 332nd Fighter Group and 332nd Fighter Wing at Lockbourne. The 332nd carried the combat heritage of the Tuskegee Airmen. Its squadrons included the 99th, 100th, and 301st Fighter Squadrons, units whose pilots had fought in World War II while operating under racist assumptions that expected them to fail. President Harry S. Truman signed Executive Order 9981 on July 26, 1948, declaring a policy of equal treatment and opportunity within the armed forces. However, the process of military integration was only beginning when the 1949 competition was announced. The black aviators of the 332nd were therefore preparing to compete at a moment when their unit's future and the place of black personnel throughout the Air Force remained unsettled. Their performance would carry a meaning far beyond trophies. Every maneuver would become evidence. Every round fired would become testimony. Every target struck would challenge the claim that black pilots were inferior. The first Air Force gunnery meet. On March 2, 1949, Las Vegas Air Force Base was selected to host the Air Force's inaugural gunnery meet. 2 months later, on May 2nd, 12 teams representing 5 major commands assembled in Nevada. The competition included both jet-powered and piston-engine aircraft. Participating units flew aircraft such as the F-80 Shooting Star, F-84 Thunderjet, F-51 Mustang, F-82 Twin Mustang, and F-47 Thunderbolt. The 332nd was the only team competing with the F-47. The Thunderbolt was rugged and powerful, but it belonged to an earlier generation of fighter aircraft. Some competing teams arrived with newer or more advanced machines. The Tuskegee Airmen understood that their aircraft would not win the contest for them. Training would have to overcome technology. Precision would have to overcome prejudice. The competition would be decided not by reputation, but by the pilot's ability to place bullets, rockets, and bombs exactly where they intended. The 4 men selected. The 332nd selected 4 experienced pilots to represent the organization. Captain Alva Temple, of the 301st Fighter Squadron, served as team captain. First Lieutenant Harry T. Stewart, Jr., of the 100th Fighter Squadron, joined him as one of the primary competitors. First Lieutenant James H. Harvey III, of the 99th Fighter Squadron, completed the 3-man flying team. First Lieutenant Halbert Alexander, also from the 99th Fighter Squadron, served as the alternate pilot. Each man represented more than himself. Behind them stood the pilots who had trained at Tuskegee, the mechanics who kept their aircraft flying, the armorers who maintained their weapons, and the black service members whose abilities had been restricted by segregation. According to an account later recalled by James Harvey, Colonel Benjamin O. Davis, Jr., one of the most important commanders in Tuskegee Airmen history, gave the team an unmistakable order: "If you don't win, don't come back." The words reflected confidence, pressure, and an understanding of the stakes. The pilots were being sent into an arena where second place might be interpreted not as a respectable finish, but as confirmation of every racist assumption surrounding them.